Karen, this session is now being recorded, and I'll turn the time over to you.
All right, thank you, Dustin. Hello, everyone. My name is Karen Pakula, and I am, I'm trying to move ribbons here. I am having problems getting my slides to advance here. There we go. My name is Karen Pakula, and I'm a psychology instructor at Central Lakes College in Brainerd, Minnesota. And I'm also the OER faculty development coordinator from the Minnesota State College and University Systems. Today, I'd like to welcome you to a panel discussion where you can listen to and visit with educators who have attended OER learning circles. Today, 8 faculty and librarians from Minnesota State will share their OER learning experiences with you. As you hear each of the educators introduce themselves, share their stories, please note their names and also any comments or questions that come to mind as you listen to them speak. We have reserved time at the end for you to ask questions or to comment. As you can see from this slide, we have found this OER Learning Circle model to be truly a model for success. The structure and the process of the model offer faculty an opportunity to structure and organize their OER work in a resource-rich, cross-disciplinary, and cross-institutional collegial work environment. The learning circles are structured as 10-week sessions for semesters and as 5-week sessions for summer semester. The learning circles are structured around 3 project pathways: course redesign, authoring of ancillary materials or textbooks, and OER Learning Circle Leader Practicums. Faculty meet for 1 hour per week in virtual facilitated Zoom room learning circles. Here, faculty share pearls, which are their aha enlightenments from the work that week. They also share thoughts, ideas, ask questions, and share great resources. Faculty are expected to attend 80% of the scheduled learning circle meetings. And at the end of each session, faculty also share their completed projects with their colleagues in a final showcase event. Faculty create unique and individualized work plans that have a designated section for weekly journals. These are notes to themselves on resources, questions, plans for future work, etc. Their plan is a tentative plan that evolves as they work. This plan is an essential element for success. It gives faculty a tangible scope and sequence for their work. It lessens their anxiety about project completion, and it holds them accountable to a self-designed work plan. Faculty also have access to optional weekly discussion forums where they can ask peers for help, share ideas and resources that they have discovered, and also, of course, share their weekly pearl. But we have found that beyond OER, there's actually another hidden pearl. And that hidden pearl is the personal professional growth that for each faculty member continues to pay it forward to themselves and to their students, far beyond their work in adopting and developing OER. Once faculty can break free of the dependence that they have had on commercial textbooks to dictate the structure, organization, and the heart of their teaching, and they take that back and embrace their newfound confidence in themselves as experts in their field and experts of their profession, they grow and grow and grow in their renewed confidence in themselves and their profession. So now we're going to hear from the first of our faculty, Kate. Kate, would you take it away and introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Karen. Hi all, I'm Kate Brow. Specific to my OER work, I have participated in OER course redesign, trained as a learning circle leader, led learning circles on our campus, and recently enrolled in the Creative Commons certification course for educators. Next slide, please. First, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to share our demonstrated growth at Hibbing Community College. For the record, I'm choosing to do this through Lego people. Photos of Lego people are great for depiction. Our story at Hibbing Community College is OER Learning Circles began with one person, and that person happened to be me. That's me, the chicken Lego person. Unsure of what learning circles were, but I was intrigued and felt compelled to participate. So I began my journey participating in a round of learning circles spring 2018. As I was participating, I recognized that this work was meaningful, and I knew others were beginning to recognize this as well. As I was participating and communicating the value of this project to our campus, this inspired our library technician, Rachel Milani, to complete a 10-week Creative Commons certification course for librarians. So now we have 2 people. Then we decided to form a committee. Now we have 10. Growth was happening, and here we were establishing this team effort at our college. But now what? It didn't feel sufficient. There was this innate sense to have this continue to grow. So there again was Karen and the system office announcing opportunity to train as a learning circle leader. This was going to permit an effective mode for authoring OER work at our campus, and I would be able to lead these efforts and offer support to faculty as needed. In addition, we were awarded grant funding by the system office, which provided additional incentive for faculty to participate. Next slide, please. Okay, so how are we effective? Are we still growing? Today, we are in the midst of offering our 4th round of learning circles, so this is demonstrating continued growth. On this slide, I would like to highlight that just in a recent analysis, our students have saved over $300,500 in aggregate savings thanks to new OERs that were adopted on our campus. Now, in case that may not sound like a lot of money to some colleges, we're small. So for our students, this means enormous savings. So as you can see by the Lego image I'm sharing here, it's a Lego world. We have this system established now on our campus, and it continues to grow. Quantities may start small and grow, and small things can still mean big things. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark Kaczynski, a biology faculty member at St. Cloud Technical and Community College, and I've been involved with open educational resources in one form or another for the past several years, but it wasn't until the learning circle opportunities that I actually became confident in what I was doing. So if we jump ahead to the next slide, I can kind of go through my history with OERs. Like I mentioned, it started probably back in 2013, 2014, just on my own at my campus. I had attended a conference somewhere and learned about the OpenStax biology book and decided to jump in head first. I didn't have any resources on my campus at that time to help me. So understandably, I was a bit nervous about what I had just jumped into. And I actually had my confidence shook a little bit after my first couple of semesters using OERs. And I went back to a traditionally published textbook because I wasn't confident in my ability to use OERs with my students, having experienced the traditionally published textbooks in the past and not seeing anybody else on my campus doing it. Fast forward to spring 2018, I was able to participate in the learning circles, and I developed ancillary materials. So I created test banks and presentation tools and study guides. In spring 2019, I took it a step further and participated in the Learning Circle Leaders Program. And I continued then moving forward in fall of 2019 on a sabbatical, producing more ancillary materials. The point that I want to drive home here is that with each of these experiences, my confidence in myself to create OER materials and use them with my students continued to grow. Fast forward to today, my institution has just secured funding from our system office to develop a no textbook cost AA degree. And I am going to be the faculty member leading that. And I attribute all of that to Karen and the spring of 2018 when she helped me see that I could do this and helped me really build my confidence in myself as it relates to OERs. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Monica couldn't be with us because of a schedule conflict, so she sent us a quick audio clip that we're going to listen to here.
Hello, I am Monica Rothday, Associate Professor in Social Work at Metropolitan State University in St. Paul, Minnesota. I'd like to do a quick shout out to my colleague, Dr. Matt DiCarlo. Matt's social work research OER helped build my confidence in the use of OER and ideas for my own application. Then, through the Minnesota State OER Learning Circle, I developed an OER for our senior field capstone course. Developing this OER helped me consolidate the many theories, concepts, and skills into one source that our students use in their last semester. In the process, I believe I became a better teacher. Determining content, developing activities, and doing some mini research around student learning helped me identify both strengths and areas for development in my teaching. Throughout the spring semester, the Learning Circle provided space to share insights, brainstorm ideas, and learn new tools from my colleagues. It was also a much appreciated space during the early challenges of the pandemic. I recommend Learning Circles to anyone wanting to develop OERs, enhance their teaching, and make important connections. Hello, I am Monica.
And Monica also included a couple other slides of things that she briefly covered there. Developing OER for professional programs and ideas on the use of OERs. Dan.
Hello, my name is Dan Alasso. I teach history at Bemidji State University. I've been doing the OER Learning Circles for about 3 years now. Initially, and I'm sort of the exception to the rule, I actually write OER textbooks. So my first project was to take this textbook, this environmental history textbook that I had already published, and switch it over to a Pressbooks OER, which I did. And could you please advance the slide, Karen? Which I did a couple of years ago, and put it up on the Open Textbook Library. I followed that up with a little writing handbook that I had also written, which is also up on the Open Textbook Library, and a source book of primary source readings, which didn't make it onto the library because it's not a textbook. So with 3 completed OERs, I also took the Creative Commons licensing training, or the certification training. And I also took the leader training, which I haven't actually led an OER learning circle on my campus yet, but I will be using Karen's kind of patented techniques to run a HyFlex community of practice later this fall and into next spring, so that we can try that out. So my current OER projects are a remix of the American Yop, which is a Stanford's OER American history, and a modern world history that I'm collaborating with a professor from another one of the Minnesota State universities. And so we're finishing that up. We've got about 2-3 chapters to go yet in this semester, and then that will also be up on the Open Textbook Library. So that's my story. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Carolyn.
Good afternoon. My name is Carolyn Weber, and I live in Northwest Minnesota. And I'm a communication faculty at Minnesota West Community and Technical College, part of the Minnesota State system. And I became interested in OERs when I was seeing these announcements come out from the system office. And I attended a coffee with Karen, which explained a little bit about what OERs are, what they can offer you, and kind of lit a fire underneath me to join a learning circle, which I did in the spring of 2019. I enjoyed that immensely, and in the summer of 2020, I joined another learning circle opportunity to become a trainer. And you can advance the slide, please, Karen. To become a trainer of OERs and to lead other faculty on our campus. So in this process, there was some anticipation and fear. Confusion led to immersion. I went out and I found communication already published textbooks that were open resources. In the learning circles, though, what I really did was I learned from others. It led to discovery of not only what was available out there, but what was available in here. And Karen was able to, through the learning circle, show me that I have expertise in a field that I have taught at a college level for 20 years. So I did share a course that I have been teaching in Opendora, which is our open source share from Minnesota State. And I'm looking forward to leading a learning circle with a colleague on our campus for spring of 2020. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Carolyn. Nick.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nick Heiser, and I'm a full-time business instructor at Central Lakes College. I began my first full year last year. What a time to start, right? And before that, I'd been adjuncting for a number of years. And if you could go to the next slide, Karen. I think I'm a great example of how helpful it is to expose new faculty to OER. Because honestly, I was having to create curriculum and find resources anyway. But the great thing about what Karen provided in her learning circle is not only access to resources, understanding about new teaching paradigms such as open pedagogy and where to find OER, but also community. I'm a big fan of the quote by James Comer when he said, "No significant learning occurs without significant relationship." And the relationships and the support of a group of peers in community really encouraged me to continue on with using OER. And my plan is to adopt it with all of my courses. So as a result of these learning circles, I as well am a learning circle leader now at my campus, trying to get more technical faculty to pursue open-ed resources. I've authored an OER textbook, and I'm really interested in OER because of the exposure I had in my first year as a faculty member and the support and encouragement I've received from Dr. Pikula and the rest of the community. So I'm really excited about OER and thankful for some of these opportunities that are available. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Rebecca and Alyssa.
Sorry, forgot to unmute. Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca March, and Alyssa and I are going to be splitting our 2 minutes here, so I'll go quick. We are both librarians and instructors at Minneapolis College, Minneapolis Community and Technical College, and we both teach a class called Information Literacy and Research Skills. And we got interested in this because Alyssa is always interested in anything technical and anything new tech she can use to help students. And I was our equity and inclusion consultant for our Center for Teaching and Learning for a couple of years. And I was interested in student success from the equity standpoint. And we both were interested in the tech and both interested in equity, but one of us had strengths in different areas. So we combined and we took the learning circle, I think it was 2017, and we just kind of dove in, used an existing information literacy textbook from SUNY, and the learning circle was great because it let us dig in and get used to how to edit and brainstorm with other faculty about how to dig into an existing OER, and we created ancillary materials and all that. But I wanted to speak mostly, can you advance to the next slide, Karen? A kind of the trajectory of how our process has gone since that first learning circle where we kind of got our wings and jumped out on our own. And the reason we started all of this was for equity of cost. I had done research that found out that a lot of our students were in an urban, high underrepresented student population college, and I found out that many of our students just went without textbooks at all. And so we dug in just for equity of cost to make our resources free. But then that was where we thought it would end, that we would just kind of adapt this textbook and it would be free for students. But we found out that once we dug in, it really gave us freedom to explore content and pedagogy too. And so Alyssa's going to talk about a little bit of where we went after just thinking about cost.
Yeah, you can stay on that slide, Karen. So with cost or with content, our initial foray into this textbook, because it had been developed somewhere else, a lot of the examples didn't really relate to our students. So we started by just taking out all the examples and putting in our student research projects. And we also took a lot of the library related academic research stuff and we really adapted it to how we teach locally. using our own library content, using our own language around how we teach. So the content really became a lot more relevant to our students by doing this kind of adapting the textbook to our own uses. And then finally, we started thinking, like once we felt like the content was pretty good, about how do you make this a pedagogical change too? Because OER allows you to do creative co-authorship with students. In fact, it asks you to. So we've been thinking really hard about how do we involve our students in the process of creating our courses and creating their own learning. The other cool thing about OER is with the flexible copyright, you're allowed to take the course and or take the textbook and adapt it to whatever learning environment you're using. So we're really taking this textbook and we're kind of deconstructing it and throwing it into our course management system in ways that are actually more relevant to the way our students encounter our classes in an online learning environment. We're also using this textbook as a base for developing our Research 101 LibGuide to support students across our campus who maybe missed our course but need some help like getting up to speed on how to do academic research. And we're combining that with video content and quizzes and other ancillaries to make a really interesting set of materials for our students.
Okay. Thank you, Alyssa and Rebecca. And I would just like to add here, I presented several years on the Learning Circles at Open Ed conferences and often get the question that can librarians attend Learning Circles? So I want to make sure to let you know that actually Rebecca and Alyssa attended the very first Learning Circle that we ever offered at Minnesota State. So then we've got a few minutes here for questions, but before we do this, I really quickly just want to show you our last slide to let you know that there's contact information here for all of us, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that we might not get to in this session. So we're going to go back to questions here, and I have not been monitoring the chat, but if anyone has a question, I'd like to type it into the chat or direct it to one of our educators, please do so now. Has anybody been, of our educators, have you seen any questions that?
There's a question from the chat, Karen, about how you started this. Did you use a template or did you develop it yourself?
Okay, I actually, this whole Learning Circle process actually grew out of the research that I did for my dissertation on looking at whether novice teachers were able to apply what they'd learned in their coursework to actual application in their classrooms when they got it. So it really kind of grew out of that, my curiosity about how we learn and how teachers learn. So it kind of came from that. Any other questions there, Dan?
No, just no. There was a question about where the ancillary materials are shared, and they are mostly shared on Opendora, which there's a link to that Mark has provided in the chat. Mine are on the Open Textbook Library for the most part.
And some other faculty have actually shared their ancillary resources with other repositories like Open Textbook, OpenStax. So some of our other faculty have contacted publishers and are sharing their resources there. Do you see any other questions there? Are there any comments that any of the 8 participants would like to just add here at the end?
There is one more comment about structuring grants to encourage learning circles. Do you have any 30-second advice?
On structuring their grant?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very important to structure it in terms of professional development and personal professional growth for faculty, as well as that to the point of saving our students money. But I think academic freedom for instructors is huge here. We're talking about the real purpose and the success of Learning Circles. Any other comments from our participants?
I want to thank everyone for coming, and I want to thank our presenters. They will be here for another 5 minutes if you want to ask them questions. This is the technical end of the presentation if you want to start going out, and I'm going to stop the recording in just a moment here. Thank you so much. This was an exciting team of people who've really kind of seen it from a lot of different directions, which is always a great perspective to be borne out. So thank you so much for presenting and for sharing your experiences with us.
Okay, thank you for giving us the opportunity, and also thank you to everyone who has attended. And I think that very shortly here we'll be done recording, but we will kind of hang here in this room if any of you have any other questions you'd like to ask.